Okay, great. Okay, here we go. So thanks for coming back. And just before we dive in, any questions that are from stuff we've covered in recent weeks? Should we continue?
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going through our survey, our brief survey of the 39 categories of labor, 39 melachot. And next on our list is the series that is related to building. So we have kotev and mochek, writing and erasing. In the tabernacle, they would number, I guess, write on the boards to make sure they would disassemble the tabernacle and reassemble it in the right order. But writing. Okay, writing is biblically prohibited. Writing two letters is the minimal quantity to violate this biblical prohibition. So if you write one letter, it's not a biblical prohibition. It's still forbidden, but it's rabbinically prohibited. This is relevant if you ever find yourself um, like in a um, like in some sort of medical facility, and they won't treat you unless you sign your name on something. So if life is at stake, you do what's necessary, but the writing isn't actually what's saving lives. The writing is just authorizing the doctors and nurses to take care of you. So if you use your left hand, you use your non-dominant hand, and you just write an X, it's non-dominant hand lowers it from the threshold of biblical, an X lowers it from the threshold of biblical, and so it's like two drabunants, two reasons why it doesn't meet the requirements of being a biblical violation. The kind of uh, wouldn't qualify, and for the sake of even not for life saving, even just for the sake of alleviating discomfort, and we would, so even like non-life threatening illness could be treated in that way. If you, I don't know, need to seek medical treatment, your life is not in danger, not even questionably, but you're very uncomfortable and you're going to a clinic, like the walk-in clinic, whatever. So you annex with your left hand and they'll treat you and alleviate your discomfort. Okay. Writing, erasing. Erasing is also a prohibition. Erasing is a prohibition if it is constructive. Like all of the 39 categories, they're only biblical violations if they're constructive. If they're merely destructive, it's not. So you just erase something in a destructive, whatever, that's not a biblical violation. But if you erase something so that you can write in its place, that would be a biblical violation. Like imagine if you have ink on parchment, you're scraping off the ink to write something new where you scraped it off. That would be a biblical erasure because it's for the sake of writing something new. Um, so I point out writing typing something on a computer, probably not a biblical violation of writing. Some people want to write because you're not, there's no ink on paper or pencil on paper. It's just digits in a, I don't know, whatever. Um, maybe someone wanted to say saving something to a hard drive maybe is a kind of akin to writing, but I don't think it's digits, ones and zeros, and a microscopic blah blah blah. There's no actual thing you can look at and say this is like a letter. So it's probably not a biblical violation. So if you have a choice between writing by hand, right, pen on paper versus typing something electronically, digitally, the digital is a lower threshold, not a severe prohibition. Questions about writing and racing? You write your name in Steam. That's not a biblical violation because it's temporary, like a miss, in the mirror or something. Okay. Um, Bonet is building. So and included in that would be nailing into the wall or screwing or like anything that's like construction related. Or erecting a tent, opening a beach umbrella. That's all violations of building. Um, and related to this is the pretty universal practice not to use umbrellas on Shabbat, as it's sort of considered like a portable tent. Truth is, when umbrellas were first invented, there were some lenient positions as well. The strict ones sort of won out. I mean, I just would say like we push strollers with canopies. You'd open a canopy on a stroller, it's really no different than an umbrella, but this is sort of how things develop, so we don't use umbrellas. So if it's raining, you should get a good raincoat. Okay, that's the answer. And Sabbath-observant Jews just know that like you might be a little bit wet, like it's okay. Uh, I think very often my wife will bring like nice shoes in a bag, and she'll carry them to shul, and she'll get changed here, and she'll take off her boots and put on her nice shoes and be in her nice shoes here in shul, or her nice hat, and and then when she's ready to leave, she'll put on a rain hat and put on her boots and carry her fancy clothes in a plastic bag home, and like that's normal, right? Like that's like what people that's or and some people, just wear their boots on Shabbat, because we don't wear raincoats, so we don't drive, so we're walking places. So we're gonna look a little bit less fancy because we're observing Shabbat. So we look nice, but maybe a little bit less fancy because in a way that reflects, our devotion to Shabbat itself. I think that's
Torrential downpour, and you go to seek shelter under a tent.
yeah. You can go into a building. Like you're allowed to go inside. You just can't build. It's the building that is the you can't build. Yeah, correct. So yeah, no, I've gotten pretty soaked and I've had some experiences of being pretty wet. The truth is, it was that raining, an umbrella is not going to really help either. But yeah, that's, I think that's in terms of like, there's like the discomfort of being wet and caught in a rainstorm. But I think if you decide I mean, often enough, let's say if it's not it won't be raining if it's by definition, if it's raining, it's above freezing temperatures. So it's not like pleasant per se, but if you just decide, like, I don't care about being wet, I'm just gonna like be okay. And everyone who sees me knows that this is why I'm wet and right, because I got caught in a rainstorm while walking on Shabbat, and no one's gonna judge me. Then like just you can just enjoy it and just like this is what it is. Like I think on Rosh Hashanah this year, there was a 10-minute torrential rainstorm. I got caught in it with my son and we dried out and we actually I went home and I changed and I came the timing was such that like we were walking in the rain we got completely soaked we like saw some people it was fine they were also soaked mostly and then we had time before shul starting again so I went home and I changed and that was okay. There was another over the summer in July there was like this that was a torrential rainstorm. We were going to go to visit some friends like there were all the kids who were going to the same sleepaway camp were meeting at someone's house on the other side of the neighborhood, and we were on our way there, and we got absolutely soaked. And my daughter and her friend decided they were just going to go anyway, and they just like walked and were like completely drenched and just like had a blast as because they were 13 and just having a blast. The rest of us turned around and got absolutely soaked. We got home and I realized my white shirt had like completely soaked through, and everyone could see that I was wearing pajamas that I had worn the entire day and had not noticed until I got, which my 8-year-old thinks is like the funniest thing ever that like I came to school in the morning and all day long I had and then at lunch and then I had pajamas, instead of an undershirt the whole day. And then when I got caught in the rain, everyone, yeah, so yeah, yeah. So point being, it's okay. Like it's just fine, like I don't melt and it's Shabbat, so it wasn't gonna hop into a taxi, wasn't gonna use an umbrella and yeah, yeah.
Be human.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. It was really fine. So bonus. We don't build things. Some interesting questions about forts. Kids making play forts could be a problem depending on how they build them, and that's really kind of like a tent. Um, Soter is destroying, break, um something that's built for the purpose of building something else in that location, right? Otherwise, it's not a biblical violation, which means that sometimes breaking something, if you're like this comes up like opening containers of food, like you open a can, are you destroying something? Are you accessing the food? Are you making something? Now you have a container since you opened your can. So generally, I think the reasonable position is you open it, take the food, and then discard the can to indicate that you're not making a now I have a tool. I have a little canister. No. You just access some tuna fish and you throw out the can. That was just containing it. It was not you weren't making a little bowl. You were opening a tuna fish can and then throw out the can right away. So that's like a good recommendation, just to discard the thing that you opened to get the food, and then that way there's no question of making something through this opening of the hole. Which gets right to Makavipatish is the final hammer blow, which um, is the last thing you do to make something complete. So literally, like imagine you're like forging, you're like banging on a pot, and you're like shaping it, hot metal, you're banging, and then the last hammer blow that like now it's done, that's Makavipatish. That is its own biblical prohibition. It's like the final step in completing something. So this could be maybe sometimes you get a this you don't see this so much anymore, but you like old-fashioned books you would come from the pages would be attached to each other and they wouldn't be and you would have to like tear the pages open. That would probably be Makabeh Patch. It's not really complete until you tear the pages open and then the book can turn. That would be a biblical violation. Maybe your guitar string breaks and you put a new string on. Like putting the string on a guitar might be Makabeh Patch. It's not really usable with three strings. You put your for six string. Five violins have four strings. Guitars have six strings, right? Whatever. Okay. So it's missing a string. You put that. You put. I mean, guitars break. Strings break on guitars. That's like a common thing. So putting that string on and tuning it, maybe even let's say it has all the strings. Tuning a guitar might be Makabeh Patch. It's not usable, and this is the thing you're doing to it to turn it into something usable. What's not Makabeh Patch? Something which is um, meant to be opened and like opening a folding chair is not Mako. I haven't built a folding chair. I haven't built a chair. I'm just operating a folding chair. It's meant to be opened and closed. It's a folding chair. That's what it is. And so the operation of a folding chair is not Mako Padish. I'm just operating a folding chair. Whereas I think like tuning a guitar, maybe I'm or certainly like adding a string that breaks to a guitar. That would be um, like completing something that's not usable. Now it's usable. Maybe my chain falls off my bicycle. I put the chain back on. Um, Maybe my bicycle tire is flat and I inflate the tire. Maybe these are things that all transform something that's not usable into something usable. It's like the final completed step. Maybe I use setting up a sound system. I plug in the mic to the amplifier, adjust it. I mean, that's makhleh patish. It's like all the pieces are like really disassembled. I'm plugging this to this and this to that, adjusting the volume. Now it's makhleh patish. That would be, maybe a biblical violation of makhleh patish. Um, there was a very influential early 20th century rabbi known by the name Chazon Ish, the name of a book he wrote, Avraham Karelitz, who thought that every electronic device that when used was makbeh patish because in like flipping a switch or pushing a button, you're completing a circuit and you're turning something from being not completed to being done. So when I complete the circuit, I'm like, I've built the radio. Now it's an elevator. Now it's a radio. Now it's a because now the circuit's complete and now it's actually operating. Whereas when the circuit is not complete, the electricity isn't flowing. And okay, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, who was a contemporary, like a younger contemporary of his, and who died 1995, he said, no, that's not Machmapat. Like that's when I close a door, I'm not building a wall. Okay. Opening and closing a circuit by flipping a switch, pushing a button is akin to opening and closing a door. I'm not, I break the wall. I fix the wall. I break the wall. No, you're just opening and closing a door. Like this, the radio is meant to be turned on and off, right? The buttons are meant to be pushed. The switch, it's more akin to a folding chair, okay, than it is to like completing something. So he said electricity per se, like the completion of a circuit was not a biblical violation. We sort of treat electricity, he taught as though it's a rabbinic violation. So with all of those various leniencies for various extenuating circumstances, unless the electronic device is itself doing something that's biblically prohibited, like an electronic um, lawnmower, okay, is cutting the grass. That's a biblical violation of kosher. That's actually not a, well, what's a lawnmower? What's the violation? What's lawnmower? Yeah. Well, that's the thing though. So you don't want the grass. So it's not kotzer is if I'm harvesting grass. But when a lawnmower is not a grass harvester, a lawnmower is promoting the growth of the grass. So maybe it'd be the biblical violation of zorea. Like it's actually more like planting than even though I'm cutting it, it's like planting because the purpose is to promote growth rather than harvest the grass that I want, right? That's not what a lawnmower does. But in any event, it's a right or electric shaver, right? The electronic device might be doing something that's biblically or otherwise forbidden, and that would be the problem. But the circuit itself, he said, was not itself a problem. So that's Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's position, which I think is that's how I was taught, and that's sort of what I would, that's what I do. That's how I and my teachers give halakhic guidance based on that assumption that electricity per se is not a biblical violation, and so various other leniencies would come into play at a time of need. Mahavatish. Okay, questions, comments so far? Should we go on? Any? Okay. Oh, yeah, sure.
So when it comes to key fobs,
Yeah.
electronic key fobs, what is that?
That's great. So electronic key fobs, there's no, so if you hold a chazon and anytime a circuit clicks, that's a biblical violation, then a key fob is a biblical violation. Or just Zalman Auerbach, there's no biblical violation. The thing that it's doing is opening a lock, not a forbidden activity per se. And so other than the universal practice from the time electricity was invented until now of observant Jews not to use electricity on Shabbat, there's no specific violation in the key fob. And so I would say if you can avoid it, avoid it. If you can't avoid it, I think it's okay. And it's not just me, but Nachum Rabinovich, who died in 2020, 2021, a very important posek, he was pretty lenient about these sorts of things, key fobs and things, literally key fobs. He was lenient in the context, I believe, like travelers going to hotels where they really, it's like temporary. It's like you're traveling, you can't necessarily control your environment. I don't know if he was similarly lenient like in your own home. I'd say, with your own home, like try not to use a key, like get a mechanical lock on your own home. Um, I just know from people like just in recent last 5, 10 years, it's become harder and harder to find. Like a lot of rental buildings now are entirely electronic, and it's may not be possible to find. So I would say if you can't get a workaround, I think Nachum Rabinovich is a scholar of broad enough shoulders that you can rely. But really, it's just based on this understanding of Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. There's no inherent prohibition, and the key again, it's just a lock is opening. It's not a not doing anything prohibited per se. So, okay. Next is Mavir. Mavir is lighting a fire or transferring a fire or adding fuel to a fire. So yeah, don't light fires. I don't know. But included in that would be using uh, a what? Yeah, a car. Well, now you have to clarify actually, not just any car, but a car with an internal combustion engine.
Yes.
An electric car would not have a problem of Mavi, right? So there's no fire, but the fire, but yes. So
I feel like that would be Lou Hashem
why?
because they want it. Not everybody would know that it's an electrical
So
vehicle.
Chil Hashem I wouldn't say it wouldn't. It's not Chil Hashem. The word I think it's like Marid Ayin. It looks like you're doing something forbidden, but I don't know. I think maybe now that that electronic cars are more and more common, I'm not sure that's. It's interesting. Like once upon a time, maybe that was true. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know. Electronic cars are. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not the. I'm not. It's not the biblical violation of Mavir. Um, there's no fire. Okay, let's put it that way. Um, so whatever it is, it's not that. We'll talk about what it is, but it's not that. Maybe gets similar to the question of electricity, right? You might have some other issues. You have some lights. I don't know. The lights in a modern car, are they light bulbs or are they? That's not because the old-fashioned light bulbs, like are they incandescent light bulbs? There's a filament that gets very hot and it glows, which is many say that's itself is a biblical violation of maybe mavir, maybe right. You have a glowing filament, but incandescent bulbs are really hard to find now, and most lights are now LED lights where there's no filament. So if the car, so that was cars also in addition to the engine had issues with the lights, even the lights when you open the door, right? Those are if they're little incandescent light bulbs hidden throughout the car, that would be a problem. I'm not sure that's true of cars anymore. Like if I drive a 2008 car, so that's like it has incandescent bulbs, but I don't know that like modern cars, I don't know if they make them anymore with. Probably not, right? It's all LED. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So there's no.
15 had LED in it, so I would assume
Yeah. Okay.
after that.
Yeah. All right. So. Um, yeah. Yeah. My kids are really eager to get a new car, but I'm saying not today.
Especially if you don't have a payment, don't do it.
Yeah. No payment. I mean,
It's horrible, especially now. Like car prices are skyrocketing again.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Don't do it.
all right. Thank you. Thanks for the
Don't do
encouragement.
it.
No, it still works. Still works. I don't understand why more people don't just replace. I really actually, whatever, for a different time for a different time. I don't understand why more people don't just maintain their old cars. And it's
Because they don't make them to last anymore.
Yeah.
All the cars when they were built to last.
And the cars now are built to break.
Exactly. A couple of
So
years
that
ago.
way, like if you're in an accident, they're braking, so that way it protects you.
Oh, I see. I see. Well, I live in yeah.
I've been a couple of them, so.
Oh, okay. All right. No light. So Mavi. So that's Mavi's lighting a fire, burning fire. Incandescent light bulb probably is included in that or in something else. Internal combustion engine is included. Um, obviously, your gas stove would be an issue. Um, what else? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people, if you use a candle, whatever, whatever, that would be an issue too. Um, light your Shabbos candles before Shabbat starts. Okay, light your Hanukkah candles before Shabbat starts. Right. Okay. Wait till after Shabbat ends to light your Havdalah candle or any other candle. Okay. Yes.
What should I do if I lit the candle for Shabbat? And like it happened to me recently, like it just like I lit two and one of them stops. Like am I allowed to relight it after so just let it die and it wouldn't be bad.
Certainly not as bad as lighting on fire on Shabbat, right? Can't say the fire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That happens. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, lighting, extinguishing also. So extinguishing again. Also, what's extinguishing that's productive? Um, so the productive extinguishing is to make charcoal or to make a wick that is easy to light the next time. That would be the only way to biblically violate extinguishing because it has to be productive, not destructive. So that's not so common. But in any event, so extinguishing as well. If a fire can't blow out your candles, can't do anything to make them go out, can't move them to a place where it's windy, right? That's all mechabe, that's all extinguishing a fire. If there's an uncontrolled fire,
There's water.
oh, we talked about this. Very good.
Yes.
Excellent. Great. So okay, to clarify. If you live in civilization, you can extinguish the fire to save human life.
Yes.
If you live on a desert island, you really have no excuse to save.
Apply to like animals though. Like
Say more? To save animals?
so like say for instance, like on your island, right, you have a farm of all these different
Can you put out the fire to save animal life? I don't think you're allowed to break Shabbos to save animal life. You can break Shabbos rabbinically to prevent animals from suffering. So, but you can't biblically violate Shabbat to save animal life. To my knowledge. So only rabbinically, which is, again, as you see, that's not that hard
No.
to turn a biblical violation into rabbinic violation. So rabbinic violation is permissible to avoid pain and suffering to an animal, but a biblical violation is only to save human life or possible to save human life. Yeah. And the final malacha, number 39, coming at the end, is hotza'ah, which is carrying. You're not allowed to carry from a private domain into a public domain, from a public domain into a private domain, or more than 6 feet, let's say 4 cubits, in a public domain. So you empty your pockets before Shabbat starts and make sure everything's where it needs to be. And we don't carry. Carry is sort of interesting because unlike all the other malachot, you're not like transforming the world. You're not transforming any object. But it's a little bit different in that regard, but it's still malacha. It's about being in the world as we prepared it before Shabbat and as God made it, as we made it and prepared it, and not manipulating the world. And moving things from place to place is a form of pretty significant way that we manipulate the world. Yes.
Question.
Yeah.
When your wife brings her shoes to
very
it's
good.
not like carrying.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Very good. So, okay, great. So there is an exception to this. Okay, there's a loophole. There's a literal loophole to this carrying prohibition, and here's how it works. Here's how. Let's say I have so the way at least we imagine homes and neighborhoods in Talmudic times to have been, you would have, let's say, 2 or more homes with sharing a little courtyard in between them. And if we would take food that was owned in common, we could merge these 2 domains, my domain, your domain, the courtyard in between, and say, we'll treat it like one domain. And we'll use some food like it's commonly owned that will signify that we're going to merge our 2 domains. And then I can carry into your house, you can carry into my house, we can both carry into this shared courtyard. That's okay. Okay, and then instead of two homes, let's say you have four homes and five homes, and they all open up into a common little alleyway. So we'll just like sort of make a little marker at the edge of the alleyway on one end and make a little marker at the edge of the other alleyway. And then you have all the homes, all these Jewish homes, little Jewish neighborhood, and everyone agrees to merge all of their domains, and by means of some item, some food that they all own in common to symbolize the fact that they're merging all of their domains. And in that way, we will be able to carry from my house to your house and within all the little courtyards in between and in the alleyway that connects courtyard. So now let's say instead of a Jewish neighborhood with a little alleyway, let's take an entire neighborhood. And since there are Jews and non-Jews and people who, we're not going to get the consent of every person who lives in our neighborhood. Instead, we'll go to the government and we'll rent from them the right to carry. And since the government has the right to go into any, if they have a warrant, at least they can go into, or maybe not even, they can go into any home they want to. They have that right. They can bestow upon us the right to carry with this agreement. And then we can carry anywhere inside this much larger area as long as it's demarcated and like walled off. And then we say, well, the walls don't actually have to be like full walls. They can be symbolic walls. What's a symbolic wall? A symbolic wall, like a gateway, is like a barrier. And what's a gateway fundamentally? It's like two vertical pieces and like one horizontal piece that goes above the vertical pieces. That kind of looks like a utility pole with a wire. And so can we like look at our surroundings and say, oh, actually, there's a whole bunch of utility poles with wires that's sort of all around our built environment. And we have a wall that actually a barrier that goes along 495 for most of the, here. And we have a wall here on that side. And we have utility lines on that side and that side. And in this way, we can actually see a pretty large neighborhood, which is entirely surrounded with um, barriers of some kind, and we have to make some tweaks and add a little bit here and there to complete places where the utility wires don't actually go where we want them to go, and we can make some adjustments. And we rent from the government the right to carry, and in that way, inside this broader area, we're able to carry on Shabbat. This is called an Eruv, okay? The combination of domains is called an Eruv, and this enables us to carry on Shabbat. There are hundreds of communities in North America that are surrounded with these with an Eruv. Say 50 years ago, there were very few. It's become very, very common because people want to carry their shoes or push a baby stroller. Without an Eruv, you can't carry keys, you can't carry glasses, you can't carry a book, can't carry a tallis, you can't carry a bottle of wine to your friend who's inviting you for lunch. None of that is permissible without an Eruv. With an Eruv, those things are permissible. So it's become very common, but it has to be checked every week. It has to be maintained. It's like not a simple thing. So yeah. All good? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Rabbi, pardon me.
Yeah.
What's the analysis for carrying a baby?
So carrying a living thing is never going to be a biblical violation because we have a Talmudic concept, Chai Nosei Atzmo, like a living thing carries itself, even if it can't actually carry itself. So it's not biblical, but it's still rabbinic. So you can't carry a baby without an Eruv. And we lived for 5 years with 3 and then 4 children in a neighborhood without an Eruv, and one of us stayed home all of Shabbat until the kids couldn't walk very far. So our children didn't see the inside of a shul until they were 6 years old on Shabbat, right? We lived too far. They couldn't walk. We couldn't carry them. They didn't go to shul until they were 6. Until we moved we moved. They were 5. They were 5 when we moved. The twins were 5 when we moved. They had not been in shul on Shabbat, maybe like a handful of times in their life before we moved. We left New Jersey. So it's a different kind of life. You gotta. They make special belts that you can carry your keys, where the key replaces one of the tines of the belt, and so the key is a functional part of the belt, and so you're wearing it and not carrying it. When we worked at Princeton, the university made special necklaces for the Sabbath observant women to carry their key, which the key was an integral part of the necklace. So it was like it was a link in the chain. So it was keeping the necklace like intact. Um, and that's how they got their keys. There's a way you can tie your shoes where the key is like part of the knot. If you slip the laces through the hole of the key and then make the loops and complete the knot. So the key is replacing that initial knot you tie. You tie a bow knot, there's a knot, and then you make the loops. So skip that knot and instead put the laces through a key. So the key is actually like functionally keeping your shoes on. So you're wearing it and not carrying it. That's another trick you can do for your keys. Or you can hide a key under your doormat if the doormat is underneath the eave of your building or on your porch or something. You can do that.
I'm assuming you can't really wear heavy items as well.
If it's clothing, if it's no backpacks, yeah, exactly.
No vests.
No, vest is wear. If it's let's see if it's clothing, you can wear it. If it's something you're carrying, you're not. So it's wearing versus carrying. So a backpack is not doesn't work. A vest would be fine. A what? I'm sorry.
Purse.
No purse. Um, there's some interesting like you could wear. You could wear a raincoat because that's protecting you from the elements. But those little plastic things you put around your hat. I don't know if you've ever seen those, like hat guards, rain. Yeah, if you go to Orthodox maybe you see these things. It's like it's sort of like a little.
It's like a hairnet.
It's like a shower cap for your
Yeah.
hat.
Plastic hairnet.
So that's a problem because that's not protecting you. That's protecting your hat. So that's probably more like carrying. But maybe so you'll see put a hole in it. So then it's okay. I don't know. That's but another interesting question. What about those extra? I don't know. Like many shirts, like dress shirts, have an extra button or two that are
Added to the tag.
yeah. So is that like what's that? You're like carrying a button around in case you ever need one, right? That's literally what it is, right? Like they want you to have an extra button, so so that could be a problem. Is that wearing it, right? I mean, you are wearing it, but it's
Because
not.
it's sewn in versus like usually they sew it into the tag.
Yeah,
But like wouldn't that hypothetically be wearing? Like it's not like it's
that,
just,
that,
like
that would be
fitting
the argument would be
on.
it's like sewn into the garment itself. It is absolutely no functional. It's neither ornamental nor functional. It's just to like literally to carry the button around with you in case you ever need it. So I don't know. Like it's discussed. I'm just I'm not going to tell you right now what to do about that. But
Moving from one service to the other, like I'm picking up turkey baster or something and moving it to the table. Like
within a house, it's fine. Within a house, it's fine. It's only, again, it's only carrying from a private domain to a public domain, from a public to a private, or more than 6 feet, 4 cubits within a public domain. So that would be the issue. If you're in an apartment building, from one apartment to another could be a problem because they're different domains. Maybe though the landlord owns all the property, but you have a lease. I don't know if you're in a dorm, you could probably carry. Hotel, you don't have a lease, and so probably you can carry from your hotel room to the lobby or from one hotel room to the other because you don't have a lease on your room and the hotel owner has like pretty intensive access rights. But in an apartment building where you're renting, I don't know, you have like rights to your apartment and not to someone else's apartment, and you probably couldn't carry for even within a building from one apartment to another. So an ARIF is really great. It makes things much easier and more pleasant and enables parents to bring children to shul. It makes it easier for hospitality. But it's certainly possible to observe Shabbat without one, and many, many Jews did for thousands of years, and you just got to plan in advance and get your stuff where you want it. So if you're going to someone's house for lunch, you bring them a bottle of wine before Shabbat starts, right? You want to have your reading glasses in shul, you drop it off in shul before Shabbat starts. And if you're wearing them, that's a good question. If you're wearing them, then it does not count as carrying. That's a good question. Jewelry does not count as carrying. It's actually so in the time of the Mishnah, so you're not supposed to wear women should not. So women should not wear jewelry because you remember why?
They would like comment.
Yeah, you might be like, oh look, you might be tempted to take it off to show it to your friend,
Yeah.
and you might come to carry the jewelry in the public domain. But already in the middle, but important women are allowed to wear jewelry because it'd be like undignified for them not to have jewelry on Shabbat. And in the Middle Ages, the scholars say that all our women are important, and they can wear jewelry on Shabbat. But the difference about jewelry is it's ornamental. If you just put a key around your neck, like that's not ornamental. Like if it's a beautiful key that's polished and you would wear it, even if it didn't open any door, then maybe that's jewelry. But if you're wearing it to open a door, that would be a problem. Likewise with a wristwatch. If the wristwatch is ornamental, like you would wear it even if it stopped, because it kind of you like the way it looks, it completes your outfit, then that's wearing, as opposed to carrying.
Oh.
So if like a wristwatch looks nice and you feel it completes you can use it as a watch because and you're wearing it, but it's like ornamental because it looks nice, and even if it didn't work, you'd still wear it, and because it looks kind of nice. But if it's like an ugly watch, then we can't wear it on Shabbat, okay? Yes,
I looked up now about the purses, but like are knapsacks okay? Because like I saw some women on Shabbat like wearing just like the knapsack.
again, purses. If you have an eruv, you can carry, right? If there's no eruv, you can't carry any of those things. I would say I think there's also we'll talk about it soon. There's also an issue of like what is like weekday kind of like a purse to me as opposed to a handbag. I don't know, a purse to me like I don't know, maybe so it gives the impression that there's like a wallet and a phone in there. So even if there isn't, it kind of looks like a little bit like not so like Shabbat appropriate, I would say, like as opposed to I don't know, like what are you carrying? What do you need to carry? Like what would you put in it that you have tissues, Kumash, your keys. Yeah, that's a Sidor. Fine, fine. Okay, okay. So, yeah, it's all good. That's all good. That's all good. Yeah, fine. I'm just saying, like some of these bags to me, like they sort of look like what you stick your wallet in, what you stick your phone in, and that's so the fact that even if they're not there, like looks a little bit weird to me. But it's good. You're a good point. A lot of good things you can put in your bag. Venture, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, love it. A lot of wonderful Shabbos things you could put in your bag. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can get like a fancy, nice Shabbos bag or something. Okay.
I was thinking like is it a preference for like clothes?
Cloth bags. Yeah, I don't know. I think the point is to look different and special, and not to be, like if your purse that you use during the week and for your wallet and your phone, like that seems like it would be like not so Shabbat, like friendly. So like I don't know. So like I think actually yeah, maybe like a tote bag where you stick your Sidor and your and your and like a sack or something. I don't know, a water bottle. Like that seems like a little like more a way to like make Shabbat different as opposed to like your purse, which is like that's what I wear when I go to work and it has my wallet. I don't know. But like it's somewhat subjective. It is somewhat subjective. Yeah. Questions, comments on that? All right. Any?
Yeah,
Okay, so we
Rabbi.
did all 39 melechot, right? That's amazing. So next, we're Lerman number 2, letter B, number 4, muktzah. Okay, so
Rabbi, pardon
oh
me.
yes, hi.
Yeah. Back on wearing, and actually it relates back to the building. Um, Suppose you have this very wide brimmed hat, and the purpose is to protect you from the sun.
Oh yeah,
Is that building or not building? Because it's really you're not building anything. You're just putting a hat on.
good, great question. So that is discussed. A hat with a really wide brim could be a problem. Generally people are pretty lenient, but that is something that is discussed in the halachic literature, like very wide brimmed hat. I don't remember the measurement. It has to be very because it's almost like it's sort of like a sun umbrella, which is on your head, and that would make it better. Yeah. So I would say I think that being said, I think in most of our communities it seems we're pretty lenient, and even in I don't know, like even in like very otherwise very meticulously observant communities, people wear hats with large brims. So that seems to be, that's sometimes with like 3, 4 inch brims. So that seems to be 3 or 4 inches seems fine. Maybe a big, sombrero would be a problem, I would say, on Shabbat. But yeah, it could be an issue of like making a little like a canopy or something. So that would be at some point it could be an issue. I'd say most of our community seems to be lenient about that, but good question.
No.
Sunglasses are fine. Yeah, sunglasses are fine. You're not making a canopy, right? You're not making a tent. You're just shielding your eyes from the sun. So that's fine.
Very.
And you're wearing it, exactly. Yeah. What? No sunglasses?
I think it was.
What about like prescription lenses?
No, there was no Ramadan. There was no Rob. There were no.
Those sunglasses.
No, there were no sunglasses in the time of Ramadan. There's no. I promise you, there were no. I promise you, there were no sunglasses in the time of Ramadan.
Color.
Oh yeah, if it changes color, that would be a problem. Yeah, if it yeah, yeah.
Last.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. So coloring. Yeah. Make it, yeah. Yeah, wristwatches became popular after World War One. They were worn by aviators during World War One, and that's when they became popular.
It's automatic watch issue.
I don't think I don't remember. I don't remember.
Because I assume the ones you have to crank are dead.
Not so. It's not so. It's an interesting question. So winding. First of all, you could wind it before Shabbat, and then it probably usually lasts. If you have, I mean, these are. If you have an old-fashioned watch that you have to wind manually, I think usually you wind it. If you wind it before Shabbat, it'll take you through Shabbat. I don't think you have to wind it every like. I think once a day. I think I could be wrong about what. Oh, okay, okay. So I think there are so the grounds to be strict. You would say it's like well, the malach would be makabet you're completing something which is not operating, or you could say no, it was a watch before it was completed. It was an operational watch. I'm just using it. It's like a folding chair. I wind the watch. Now it's ticking. It was a watch before. It's a watch after. Before it was a non-ticking watch. Now it's a ticking watch, and I can use it all the time. So Rav Yosef, I believe, was lenient when it came to watches, and he said you could wind a watch on Shabbat. I think there are some strict opinions. It's really very uncommon now, I think, but I believe he's lenient, and if you want to wear it, we can look into it together if you want. And yeah, imagine, like a good Shabbos Ribbiat would have it, and even Shmirat Shabbat Yochitz would probably have it because he wrote it when mechanical watches were more common, before the. Okay, already in the time of the rabbis, they had the realization that all right, well, okay, it sounds getting late. All right, most Jews had moved from farms to cities, and as you've seen, most of these melachot are agricultural and related to farming and livestock, things like that, and therefore. In our urban life. And so Jews moved to the cities, like 2,500 years ago and didn't look back. Okay. The majority of Jews have lived in cities for thousands of years. And so already in the time of the Mishnah, they realized that there was not all that much difference between Shabbat and weekdays for like most Jews. Like when was the last time you threshed, right? Or winnowed or, or set up a loom for weaving or sheared an animal, right? Like for probably many years, I would hazard to guess, right? So Shabbat was really too similar to weekday, because the things that we didn't do on Shabbat were things that we didn't do during the week either in our urban lives. And so, first of all, a whole number of like urban things that were not one of the 39 melachot were prohibited, such as commerce, like buying and selling things measure, and also this category of muktzah, which is like prohibition against moving things that have no Shabbat use. Basically, that's a rough definition, but I think it'll suffice. An object that has no Shabbat use can't be moved or manipulated on Shabbat, other than with various exceptions and when it can be. But so we don't. So in terms of like money, tools, expensive objects that we're not using on Shabbat, or things in nature, rocks and sticks, things that have no Shabbat use, have not been designated for Shabbat use. These things should not be moved, carried on Shabbat. And in this way, also, we have a more different Shabbat experience. And relatedly, we have a concept. Comes up in number 7, but a concept of like weekday activities, right? Uvdin dechol in Aramaic, like to be in a weekday environment surrounded by people doing work doing things that are similar to the work week things, even if there's no biblical violation. Ramban Nachmanides writes about this very, very poignantly in the Torah when the Torah talks about that the word Shabbaton, the day of rest, that the 39 categories of labor are actually not sufficient to make Shabbat a restful day because you can carry inside your house. So I could schlep furniture from the attic to the basement all day long and not violate the prohibition against carrying, right? I could, right? I don't do malacha for my work. You go to the office and send email. What am I doing? I'm not writing if I'm sending emails, right? I'm not, I could be bartering, or I could be, negotiating over big sales and transactions, right? None of that is a biblical violation. And so Ramban says that the Shabbatot, that there's actually a positive obligation that the Sabbath should be a restful, tranquil day. And so even when there's not a violation of one of these 39 categories of labor, we should refrain from things that are toilsome and weekday activities. We have the muktzah restrictions against moving, manipulating things that have no Shabbat use. And this is an added way. And I would say for us who don't do most of the 39 categories of labor ever, the fact that I don't use my phone on Shabbat, that is like the primary, like I put my phone, I don't touch my phone for 25 hours. That's probably the most significant way in which Shabbat is different from the weekday for me, since I'm not shoveling or harvesting or threshing or right. What I do is I like type emails and I scroll on my phone and I make phone calls and that's what I do, right? I during the week. And so by not doing that, and I would say for contemporary Jews, refraining from electronic communication on Shabbat is like, super, super important to make the day holy and different and distinct. And I would even go so far as to say that this is probably what makes our lifestyle, like that we refrain for 25 hours a week from electronic communication is what makes our lifestyles as observant Orthodox Jews distinct and different from the rest of humanity. And then I could even go far as to say this is maybe our main contribution we have to make to human civilization is this reminder that refraining from electronic communications and replacing it with analog communications in real life with real people in physical proximity to us is really valuable and precious and really, really necessary. And I think this is one of our major contributions we can make to the world right now. Okay, this is a good start, a stopping point. We'll do next time we're going to spend some time like going into more details of cooking and serving warm food on Shabbat. And then we'll wrap up Shabbat and then continue on with holidays. Just to look at the calendar, we are not. I think next week. Next week is already Hanukkah. I think we're not meeting during Hanukkah, and so I think, and then I'm away after that,
Yeah,
and
next meeting is January 12th.
next meeting is January 12th. Wow. Okay. But you're all welcome to come to shul. I hope to see you, come to shul. I'm here every day. So I'd love to see you in shul. And if you have any, and you can feel free to go to my Calendly and set up a meeting if you want to have a further conversation. But we'll meet in the January. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when it comes to, since we had the Shabbat and also the conversations, when it comes to, let's say, someone wants to go on like a 3-mile hike on Shabbat, is that prohibited?
A 3-mile hike on Shabbat. So there's something called the Tchum Shabbat, which we'll get to. Depends where. You can go on a walk in a city. You can't walk beyond like the boundary of your town or city or like settled area. Rocky Park is fine because it's surrounded by, it's like within the city, so that's fine. You can take a, yeah.
Okay, so walking around DC would be.
As you can walk very far, you can walk all day long as you stay. You can walk for. Actually, I have a colleague he's a rabbi G.W. Hillel. He lives in Kent Mill. So on Friday night, he works at his Hillel. He's with his students. He's there Shabbos dinner, and then he walks home and he gets home at like 2 a.m, and he's yeah. Yeah. It's like a 5 mile, whatever. So you can walk as far as you want as long as you're within a settled area. But if you imagine like a rural area or like how things once were, there were towns and there was like no houses in between them, you can't walk more than 2,000 cubits outside the boundaries of a town on Shabbat. Yeah. All right. Let's stop the recording.